to speak a bit and do a bit of a review on the factor of calm, tranquility, and how we can cultivate this at this moment in the lives we have. And it's certainly no great revelation that we and everyone on our planet are living in very stressful times and environments. Everywhere we look, there is challenge. Our environment, our politics, our economies, our social fabric, all are combining to create increasing levels of stress. It's just the time that we have. For many, if not most of us, the whips and arrows of this dukkha have been what have brought us to the cushion. Indeed, the advice on the urgency to practice is practice as if our hair were on fire. And that seems very apt these days in living in our world on fire. But how do we mesh this sense of urgency with developing calm? They seem antithetical. How can I be calm with the fire of all this dukkha ablaze all around me? And we certainly need to acknowledge this reality and recognize that calm, even though more elusive seeming, becomes an even more essential factor to our practice in our lives. As Rick Hansen describes it, the head on fire gets us to the cushion. Once we are there, then we practice as if the fire is completely out. Easier said than done, right? Well, one thing we can begin to doing as we do when we enter this space is we just begin slowing down. Again, simple, but not necessarily easy. My partner and I have been making time to meditate together each day and have come to laugh at ourselves repeatedly as we try to carve out in the space in our daily schedules the time for meditation. And we find ourselves saying, "Quick, let's meditate. Let's just grab a quick meditation. Let's hurry up and get our cushions." And hearing ourselves as we're saying these things, and as Susan points out, we need to meet ourselves where we are and settle first these busy energies that we bring to our cushions. We begin to come in for a landing out of the busyness and constant doing of our lives and begin to orient towards settling and a bit more calm. It's how we begin our practice. Stop, take a pause, just turn our attention away from all the externals and look inward with kind eyes to notice what's going on in there. Hey, sweetheart. Hey, buddy. Hey, darling. How's it going in there? Where's there any rattle? Where is there any distress? We notice our dukkha, our suffering, our distress, and seek to find ways to provide some comfort and soothing. And this was a point that Bill and Susan emphasized in their intro talks to the topic of calm. Bill pointed out that this practice of soothing doesn't come naturally to us necessarily. And he suggests we all experience to some degree the dharmic diagnosis of arrested development of self-soothing. This is pervasive in our society. Our bodies, our brains, our physiologies are designed to notice danger. We have that negativity bias built into our brains, that survival instinct to stay alert, to be vigilant, to see the danger. We certainly seem at times to be working against our innate neurobiology as well as our cultural conditioning in order to calm down enough to realize what hurts, how we might provide ourselves some comfort. When I was a kid, I certainly got mixed messages about calming down. While I certainly got ample comfort for bruised knees and elbows, the messages that seemed to have stuck most in my memory were those to just stop feeling whatever distress or upset I was feeling, or to believe that there was nothing to be upset about in the first place. And I may have told my Uncle Bill story before, but I think it bears repeating. When I was, I don't know, about 5, Uncle Bill, who's a World War II veteran, was a World War II veteran, took my cousin and I to the playground. And as I was swinging, I fell backwards off the swing, landed thunk flat on my back, knocked the breath right out of me, conked my head, was hurt and scared, and ran crying to Uncle Bill, who, bless his heart, says to me, "You'll live." Well, I was devastated. I was ashamed. I didn't know what to do. I tried sucking it up. And if you've ever been crying and tried to stop crying, and you can feel the tightness and the constriction and the pressure of trying to shut it all down. And from then on, I applied that to my experience, to shutting out unwanted, uncomfortable, unpleasant feelings, to not being a wimp, to being strong, to recognizing that it's not that important anyway. However, as I and all of us can notice and set aside these conditioned ways of thinking and reacting, we have the opportunity to begin to develop the capacity to care for and comfort ourselves. We can begin to notice the absence of calm, the disquiet, the stress, the rattle, the agitation, and what that feels like. And that noticing, as Susan always highlights, is so important. It allows us to begin to play with and explore the best ways to unbind, to loosen our grip, release the storyline, if just for a bit. For me, calm begins to form as I set aside my conditioned judgments and inner harshness and cultivate a more kindly attitude and soft touch, as if, using one of Susan's metaphors, comforting a crying infant, or a beloved elder, or a dear pet, or as if being comforted by a wise and kind, compassionate benefactor. There, my sweetheart. Let's see what hurts. What can we do with that? Can we put a Band-Aid on it? Can we ice it? Can we give it some warmth? What can we do? And gradually, we learn what can soothe us into a bit more calm. What would ease this body? What would comfort this aching heart, this agitated mind? As Lee mentioned on Monday, we can offer internal pillows to ourselves the same way we might offer external cushions to soften under an aching knee or a hurting hip or a sore back. And I personally love the image of putting a pillow under my heart when it's feeling a bit battered and bruised. We can develop other images that elicit feelings of of ease and comfort and calm. Excuse my allergy prone voice here. So, other images of comfort and calm, maybe an inner cup of tea that warms and soothes, sitting in a comfortable chair curled up with a sleeping, purring kitten, or one of Bill's images, a being in a diving bell that sinks down underneath the tumultuous waves on the surface of the water down into the more deep, still waters below. We can cultivate and savor our own images or memories of calm moments. I recently found a new one. I was at my 7-year-old grandniece's baseball game, the opening game of the season. And for kids at that age, they give them like 9 strikes before they're out. And she had her first at bat, and I was nervous. I could feel the rattle, and she swung and missed. And I can feel that rattle growing, and she swung and missed 9 times. And I felt the anxiety and distress of every missed pitch. She left the batter's box and ran to her mom and then to her dad. And they both knelt and held her close and spoke softly and encouragingly. I imagine them saying, there, you're still a good person, my love. And just as I had felt the distress at every swung and missed ball, I also felt a deep sense of calm and comfort as I watched the comfort she received from her parents. And this is an image that's going into my comfort toolbox. We can certainly honor the reality of the pain and distress in our lives. It hurts. We will strike out more often than we hit home runs. We'll have our breath knocked out of us and the world tell us we'll live. It is what brings us to the cushion as if our hair were on fire. We can quench the fires of dukkha, at least for this moment, and develop the skillful means to soothe and comfort ourselves and cultivate our calm space of refuge. And to use another of Bill's images, develop a space that feels like watching a gentle snowfall of heavy snowflakes on a completely windless night. So let's practice with whatever tools and images you find helpful for creating that image of calm. So thank you, Arl, for your kind attention, and let's slowly start moving into whatever our bodies may need, paying attention, noticing where is there a bit of crankiness? Where might there be a bit of achiness? That we can move in a way that brings more ease and comfort. Maybe gentle twists, easy stretches, loosening, unknotting, unbinding, opening up all the words we typically use as we begin to invite the heart, mind, body breathing into a more calm place, making any adjustments to feel a bit more stable, a bit more still, like the deeper waters beneath the waves. And invite attention to just for now leave all the externals, put aside any unhelpful, unskillful thoughts, reactions, and turn inward to check it out with kind and gentle eyes and a soft touch. How's it going in there, sweetheart? What might bring a bit more calm as we begin to practice the mantra, ground, breathe, calm, settle, soothe. Giving ourselves the space to be any way we are in this moment. Honoring any distress, any restlessness, any pushing away, and exploring how that lands in the body and what comfort we might offer. Not solutions, not analyses, just bare comfort, warmth, coolness, softening, letting the muck settle so the water becomes more clear, and feeling into that. And if it works for you, using whatever image you find helpful to feel into calm. Being a calm mountain, abiding by all the changes going on around it. Sun and rain, snow, clouds and sun, abiding it all with calm, steadiness. Feeling into slowing down, coming in for a rest. Each breath, a cool breeze in the midst of a world on fire. And just notice where attention and interest may have wandered off. And kindly, with a soft touch, welcome them back to just this moment, to a bit more calm, settled landing place. Well, in the last few minutes of this practice, settling back again a bit more and perhaps savoring each breath as a gift of calmness to ourselves, to each other, to our world.